Let me introduce the host of our show and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. I always like to say it's kind of a BOGO, and that is none other than Kerry Fink. Good afternoon, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper. It's always great to be here with you and everyone on the radio at lunchtime, Wednesdays. It's our gathering at 90.3 FM WEJF. If you're listening online at WEJF.net, thank you for tuning in. And also welcome for those of you that find this as a podcast. Every place good podcasts are to be found, from Apple iTunes on down. And, you know, one of the reasons that we make these programs available on the podcast platforms, and also not only there, but on our website, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org, our Facebook page, and our YouTube channel, is because somebody will hear something that we're talking about and say, wow, I wish so-and-so could hear that, because this is right what they're trying to figure out right now. And I think that's one of the reasons that these shows are so valuable. We'll talk about a lot of things today. First of all, we're going to talk about something that's coming up tomorrow, but then we're going to get into a show that we titled, What Seniors Should Know. And I just left it with ... after that, because we have two experts in the studio with us who really do know things that seniors should know. The first is none other than longtime friend of Helping Seniors. She is an amazing person. I call her a rock star, but I'm not the only one. You won the award Women Who Rock from WeVenture, and your company keeps getting award after award after award, and everybody gets us confused because we've worked together for so many years and the names are similar. Your company is called Seniors Helping Seniors, and you hire seniors to help seniors. And I'm talking about longtime friend of Helping Seniors, Jennifer Barton. How are you?
Wonderful. It's nice to be here.
And you are a person who really understands all of these issues inside and out. You rescued the Senior Santa program last year. You have done so much good just as a person in public life helping seniors, but then also you do so many amazing things because you hire seniors to help seniors. And then you actually are kind of on the forefront of everything that's going on technologically with seniors, too. So you do so much for seniors. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. You know, I kiddingly say we're all seniors all the time.
There you go. Well, and in Brevard County, I love to use the statistic. I said, you know, here our population along the Space Coast, 1 in 4 is over 65. 1 of 2 of us is over 50, which is the ARP definition. And so I always go, you either are a senior, love and care for a senior, or give yourself a year or two, you're going to be a senior. So hopefully everything that we talk about today is going to have meaning. The other person that I'm going to introduce to our show today, so glad this is to have Carlett Delliquadri with Flamazing Real Estate. And I want to give you some history. While she may be new on the radio show, she's not new to the stuff of helping seniors, because pre-COVID, they give us a beautiful office over in the Omni Healthcare building. It's right there on South Apollo, 1344. We're on the second floor, and we call it Joe after our, longtime president and founder, Joe Steckler. He was the guy who put all that together, and we were able to have a senior resource center there. And so that is now the Senior Resource Center. But before COVID, there was another Senior Resource Center that our friends at Zon Beachside allowed us to kind of establish Joe's concept there. And Carlett, you were involved in that. So we're talking like, I don't know, 2017 or 18 or so. It's all pre-COVID.
Yes, I did have the pleasure of being part of that venture, and I'm excited that I'm on board and part of the Helping Seniors of Brevard team in Melbourne. I'm thankful to be here.
Yeah, it's great. And so you're part of what we do in the Senior Resource Center. And that's why, before we actually get into the concept of today's show, I really want to talk about a great event that comes up tomorrow. It happens every month, fourth Thursday of the month. We do 2 things. We start at 10 o'clock with a program we call Knowledge College for Aging. And in that, we're always trying to bring something of value to you that will help you as you develop your own aging plan. It was what Joe called it. We, just to make it feel, I don't know, lighthearted, we call it getting your ducks in a row. And but tomorrow we have a really special guest speaker. I was telling Jennifer, she's heard her talk many times. This is the first chance I actually get to hear Dr. Rosemary Laird, who is a top expert in aging. What do they call it? A geriatrician or something like that?
Yes, but she times 100. She's amazing.
Yeah. And she's coming because she is like the head of research for Clean Cloud. So that's a very big group that's doing a lot of these trials to make sure that we're advancing on causes of everything that's involved in aging, particularly stuff with memory care and things like that. But you've heard her speak before. This is like a not missed moment.
Oh, absolutely. She has been in the area for years. She was part of the Aging Institute on Babcock, and then ended up going up to Orlando and building that out. And now with ClinCloud Research, very, very on the forefront of the research, so that we really hopefully can end Alzheimer's. We can treat dementia. The breakthroughs now, especially in the last year or two, are more than we've had in 30 years. It's a very exciting time. So I'm sorry that I'm going to miss it tomorrow, because I'm sure she's going to have a lot of good information, and this is groundbreaking work that everybody really needs to know about, because there's, 10 years ago, if you were diagnosed with dementia, they would say, well, there's really nothing we can do about it. But today that's not true.
Yeah, what's really exciting to me is I really believe that in our lifetime, we're going to see them really turn the corner on this and be able to make a difference, because when we get these updates of what's going on, and I'm sure that's what she's going to share with us, she's talking about how important the whole process of getting things that are going to be medically helpful. So as I've kind of understood it, one of the reasons you want to get tested early, just as a start, is because they already have great ways to kind of like hold it back if you can start working with it at the early stages. And, and then as they finish with these trials and figure out what's really effective, apparently they're seeing some stuff that could actually maybe even stop it in its tracks, if not even reverse it. It's pretty amazing. And so one of the things, I was thinking about our beloved Joe Steckler, the guy who had the vision to get this whole thing started. He began his post-Navy career with getting the whole Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation thing running. And when I met him, he was like, Kerry, I've learned that not only do families fight aging with memory problems, he said that's a certain percentage of families, but he said every family runs into stuff and they need help navigating. And so that's why the Knowledge College exists, is to try to keep giving you information that will make you be more effective at aging. So we always go, aging is on the job training, right? Or the best you could hope to do is study a little bit ahead of time so you know what's coming at you down the road. Then at 11 o'clock, we have our what we call the Wellness Series. And I'm excited about this because we're going to be focusing in on technology. We have a lady, Gabriela Rosario, with a company called Family Home Care of Central Florida. They're investing a lot of attention into a thing called the Family Virtual Home Care. And what this is, and this is interesting, they're really trying to work with AI, because this is a passive system. You literally take these boxes. I don't know a better way to describe it. They're about, forgive me for saying it this way, about cigarette pack size. You plug them into the wall. They work with your Wi-Fi, and it monitors. It's not like it's a camera, but it can access and figure out what movements are happening. And they've already talked about the fact that they can determine if UTIs are happening before, because apparently they have gathered enough information that they can see certain things that happen, because it learns what's normal for you, and then it starts to understand what might not be normal. So I've heard stories already from Gabriella where it's been effective in tracking things like UTIs. It certainly can monitor if somebody has a fall or things like that. So I'm really excited that we're going to learn about it, because so many people are doing kind of what I call cutting edge technology. And all of us would love to have round the clock home care. But when we can't do that, and it's probably not realistic for most of us, this is like the second best thing. And if you could put that together with people who know what they're doing with home care and have them work with you on this kind of match of technology and persons, maybe that's a great way to go. But also, Carlett, you're going to have a table there tomorrow so people can learn about Flamazing real estate. And I want to talk just for a second about what you do, because I have a friend of ours who comes to Golden Providers meetings that we go to. He's a realtor, and he goes, you could swing a dead cat and probably hit a realtor in Brevard County. It's
That's
just
so
his,
funny. Yeah.
It's his line, because so many people, I guess, take the class, they become a realtor, and maybe this is what they do on weekends or in their spare time. And then there are people who are actually serious about it, and this is what they do. And you're one of those people, Carlett. You're not only serious about it, but you have such an incredible background. You have nursing in your background. You have years of experience on so many levels. And on top of that, you took the time to take a designation called the Senior, let me see if I get this right, Senior Real Estate Specialist. And we were talking about that is designed, or the intent of it is to get real estate agents who may not ever for a minute think about the special needs of seniors, because maybe they're in their 20s and they just haven't hit any of this stuff yet. You know things to look for because of all your experience in that. Talk a little bit about how all of that comes together to make what you do such a passion.
Well, I have been a nurse, Kerry, for many years, and I like to keep it at 25 plus, as now I am also a senior. And when I went into real estate 8 years ago, I just identified an immediate need. First of all, I didn't want to stop working with seniors,
right.
And I had already been working with them really for 30 plus, so
Wow.
We'll leave it at that, maybe longer. And I wanted to really niche out. There's a huge need for seniors to have somebody with healthcare knowledge, background, that really understands all of the dynamics of aging and how to appropriately transition them into their next chapter.
Yeah.
Because it's usually their final chapter as far as living spaces and stuff. So it takes somebody that's very compassionate and really takes their time with them. So we have a designation, the Senior Real Estate, SRES is the abbreviation. And it is a 14-hour designation. It's a class that you actually then receive the designation. It's great to have, but one thing I think people do need to keep in mind is there's also a lot more to really, truly effectively and seamlessly navigating them from home into that next chapter, whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of components.
Right.
And I think it's very important to keep in mind that they have a medical background or experience working with seniors.
I wanted to chime into what you're saying, because, we were talking about before we were on the radio, I said there's a difference between, quote, book knowledge and experience. And I said, what you have is you have like peripheral vision, because I'm sure every real estate person, in order to pass whatever they need to be able to be a real estate agent, must understand the things about this is how a real estate contract is done. Here's the do's or don'ts and things like that. I guess we've all got that part if we're a real estate agent. But what you have is a special peripheral vision to understand things that somebody who just is trained in that is not going to understand, that seniors are going to run into. Am I saying that right?
Correct. So, my consultation starts out with a clinical assessment. Being a nurse, you always have your nurse hat on.
Right.
And so I'm looking at all the things like a nurse would look at if they were meeting with a client or a patient. I have clients, patients. And we're looking at their living environment. Have they had any falls? Mm-hmm. Their mobility. You're just doing a head-to-toe assessment to really try to, for multiple reasons, because we want to set them up for success on the transition. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. Traditional, and my colleagues are fantastic at helping anybody buy and sell a house. So I do want to make sure everybody knows that. What makes my model of real estate different is it's more for those who need to have their hand held and then have all the resources that they're going to need to be able to make that transition, which is usually a lot bumpier. Smooth and seamless.
Yeah, Jennifer.
and that's where I think Carlett shines, is that you could buy a house.
Yeah.
we can do that contract and go to the title company. But what I always tell people about Carlett is that, with seniors, there's a lot more needs there. Who do I go to? And they might not have kids in the area, or they might not have kids. So Carlett helps that whole picture, because there's so much more to it when you're moving. Downsizing, getting rid of some of the things that you have. What do you take? What do you leave? There's just a myriad of things like, oh gosh, I've got this gorgeous furniture where I'm not going to be able to take it all, and I don't want to just sell it in a garage sale. So, where do I do an estate sale? Do I take it to a specialty auctioneer? Carlett has all of that. So all of those questions that when you come down to it, there's so much to it that is going to totally and completely overwhelm a senior that's trying to do this by themselves. Carlett's got it.
Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors, what you're saying is so true, because when we were joking, or not joking really at the beginning, and I said we try to say get your ducks in a row so that you're planning ahead. See, those are the things that both of you understand, because you have seen so many senior situations and you know how to manage them. We've talked so many times, are in that first rung, because you are companion care. So you're the ones that are basically establishing the pattern for things to come in, because you're helping with those first tasks that, everything from we got to get to the store, to the doctor's appointment, we got to get some extra help around the house. We want to make sure mom or dad is getting fed right, or things like that. This is kind of where you guys come in. And so we always say that there are so many great services available for seniors in Brevard County. One of the corollaries we always say is don't try this on your own. And so, Jennifer, I want to ask you, like we're talking about, this is like the advantage of getting somebody who has that level of expertise, like Carlett does when we're talking about the real estate. But you guys work closely together, because it seems like the senior landscape is always transitioning. We talked about, Jennifer, like back during COVID, and we always talk like after holidays, you get an influx of calls because people are saying like, wow, I was visiting with mom or dad. They're going to have some help. What do we do next? And this is where you guys step in.
Oh, absolutely. So we are oftentimes brought in by the families, sometimes by the senior themselves. And we're often the first ones in, because we are a homemaker companion. We don't do any of the hands-on or medical care. We're helping with the day-to-day activities. So, we get in and help take them to the doctor's appointment, grocery store, meal preparation, like housekeeping, things of that nature. And so we're often doing a lot of education too, because we are the first ones in. So, hey, this is what this is going to look like. Or if somebody does have an accident and they go to the hospital, when you come home, this is what it's going to look like, Medicare home health. And, when they start to need the hands-on care, and looking at how much hands-on care do they need versus, maybe going into an assisted living facility, or, they're that 4 or 5 bedroom house that maybe it's time to move into a smaller condo, one story, no more stairs. So we try to point them in the right direction so that they're going to get the help that they need and the right resources that they need.
We've talked about this so many times that you end up really becoming a blessing to the family that brings Seniors Helping Seniors in, because I think there's a couple of unique things. We've talked about, like, you're able to, because of your experience, understand when more help is needed. So you're able to give the family some guidance, say, okay, we're at this stage. This is now maybe what we need to talk about over the next period of time. And these are the things that your experience is able to guide people farther.
Yeah, we really do try. If we've got a customer right now that is starting to need those hands-on care, we can see it coming. So we're having those dialogues, and we're talking about that, and have referred them to a couple of different companies so that they have a choice. And then working with the new company to make that transition seamless, so that, we know the client now. So we know what to do and what not to do. And this is the way they like things, and don't do that, because that's not a that's not a good thing. So trying, especially with someone with dementia, trying to make that transition to a new face somewhat easier and a little bit less traumatic for the client.
And that's one of the things, I don't know that we emphasize this often enough when we talk about Seniors Helping Seniors. You guys work so hard to make sure that you're getting the right senior helping the right senior. And I don't want to minimize that, because I always have this perception that a lot of times, and I don't mean this wrong if you're in the generation and you don't do this, but most of us are so busy playing on our phones and stuff that we're not always engaged maybe the way we should. And I love one of the facets, and I think it's why Seniors Helping Seniors has grown so exponentially worldwide, because you guys are part of a worldwide network that does this, is that you found that by putting somebody who's a little bit closer in age together and you go to great lengths to make sure it's a good match. So you find out that it's wonderful for the senior that's helping, but it's great for the senior who's the person providing the help. It's like everybody wins in that.
Oh, absolutely. We just took a call this morning. It's a brand new client, and we were talking to the caregiver, and when the caregiver walked in the door, the lady just kind of looked at her. And so our caregiver said, "You don't really want me here, do you?" And she said, "No, but you're here, so I guess you might as well come in." And so they sat down and they started to talk, and she started to bring her out a little bit. And by the end of the visit, they were Googling where to do chair yoga in the area and making plans. And so it turned completely around. And so the kids are thrilled. Yeah. And our caregiver was thrilled. She was so happy that she could turn this lady's day around, and you know, had a smile on her face when she walked out the door. And that's really what it's all about.
Wow. Well, we're going to continue this conversation of things that seniors should know on the second half of the show. We're talking with Jennifer Barton, who is the owner of Seniors Helping Seniors, a great organization that hires seniors to help seniors in the home. And then also Carlett Delliquadri with Flamazing Real Estate, who is a specialist in all things when it comes to senior real estate. We're going to dig deeper on all of that in the second half of Helping Seniors Radio. Stay tuned.
And it's Helping Seniors of Brevard as we get back to the program with your host, Kerry Fink. Kerry, you've got some great guests here today with Jennifer and Carlett. Carlett and I, as a matter of fact, go way back many years. I don't even want to say how many years, Carlett, that is, but it's more than one or two. But
good.
But good to see her here in the studio as well. So, Kerry Fink, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, John Harper. It's always great to be here. This is the second half of our lunchtime hour together Wednesdays on 90.3 FM WEJF and on WEJF.net if you're listening to us online. And thank you if you're continuing to listen via podcast. We're having a great conversation. We call it Things Seniors Should Know. And we have in the studio with us longtime Helping Seniors friend Jennifer Barton of Seniors Helping Seniors and Carlett Delliquadri of Flamazing Real Estate. And the conversation that we're having is things that seniors need to know or should know. One of the best ways to get that information is by asking someone who does know. And I wanted to kind of jump in where we were talking during the break. You had a great case study that we were talking about during the break, and I thought it's a great jumping off point, because one of the things that people have to understand when we're talking about like senior real estate is it's not usually or shouldn't usually be just as simple as like it's a financial transaction and that's it. It doesn't work that way all the time, does it?
No, it's probably more emotional.
Yeah.
The other part is just logistics. But I had the pleasure of receiving a phone call from Director of Marketing at one of our assisted living facilities. And she had referred me to this lovely lady who had placed her husband in memory care. Didn't have a choice. He was at that point, and that was where he needed to be. And then she didn't know what to do. She was paralyzed. She was in a paralytic state, looking around her house going, how am I going to get to him? Mm-hmm. So I went and met with her, lovely, sweet as could be. And we had a long chat. And we basically, what she needed was somebody to come in and take over and have an estate sale, get her condo ready for the market, but also to help her transition and make sure that she was in the right place in the same facility. He was in memory care and she was more appropriate for assisted. So we were able to get their 2 apartments set up with all their things that they wanted, for the most part from home, that would fit into their smaller living space, and get her transitioned in there. And to this day, they've just they've just, it's such a blessing, to be able to make all those things happen, including, the movers, and then have the estate sale, and make sure they're in the right space with all the right, with all their personal things, because that's so important to them.
Carlett, what you're saying is like, I think a lot of times we stay, what is it they say, an object in motion stays in motion, but it's really hard to get that object in motion. And even though you might need to make this transition, it's very intimidating, because now what do I do with all the stuff? How do I make all this work? I don't know what to do. It's overwhelming, so I just shut down, and I don't want to do it. I just let it sit. Whereas you're a person who can come in and make that difference. Again, we're talking with Carlett Delliquadri with Flamazing Real Estate, who really has that, first of all, that experience, that knowledge, that passion to be able to do it. And I was thinking, Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors, you also, you're kind of that same person that when you come in and you do that initial visit, that assessment, and you're visiting with a family and trying to figure out what's going on, you probably encounter a lot of that, well, we've always done it this way. And then when you finally are able to get them into the program that makes sense for them, they've got to come back to you later and say, why didn't I do this years ago? I was fighting this thing, and this is what I should have done.
Oh, absolutely. Like the lady that we were talking about just a little bit earlier that we got the call from this morning, you're so hesitant to have help.
Yeah.
I don't need that help. But already after the first meeting, she's realizing, well, this is not too bad. This is okay. And a lot of times we're able to keep people at home where they would like to be for a lot longer with just a little bit of help.
Yeah.
So realizing that, oh gosh, this does make my whole life, my life a whole lot easier. I don't have to maybe move as soon as I thought I might have. I can stay home. The kids get to be kids again instead of caregivers. And my daughter's bossy. We hear that all the time. My daughter's bossy, because usually it's the adult daughter coming in and helping mom and dad and taking care of things. And so they're kind of forced into that role. And then we see a lot of times, unfortunately, that, they're kind of butting heads. My daughter's bossy and mom's not listening. And so sometimes, when we're able to kind of calm that situation down and let the daughter be a daughter again, and maybe even kind of show mom in a subtle way that, obviously you were a really good mom because your daughter cares enough to be there and cares enough to do all of this for you. So that's a good thing, because we don't always see that.
Right. But, that's actually part of the conversation, is that what you're both speaking to is there's a passion to make sure that the right thing happens for the seniors. We were talking during the break, and I brought this up. It's so difficult when you are trying to find somebody of value to help you in a situation. There are many people who are happy to take your money. I mean, and maybe they're trying to fulfill their quota. We got to do this many of these deals, whatever that is, I'm not casting aspersions. Everybody has what they have to do. But there is something that's very special about you both, which is that how you approach your business is, I'm going to do the business, but I'm going to make sure I do it the right way with the seniors' best interest at heart. And that's a difficult quality. Like, if you're out there, we talk so many times, like, don't just pluck up a business card you saw on a bulletin board at a grocery store, at church, or a bowling alley or something like that. I can help you at home. I can watch after mom. I can help you with your house. And you have no idea what you're wandering into at that point. Do one of you guys want to comment on that?
Well, that is, we had mentioned offline too about Scam Jam, and that's one of the reasons why we need Scam Jam, because you really don't know when you're picking that name off the bulletin board. You don't know what you're going to get. Where if you work with a company, we're all background checked.
Yeah.
Every caregiver that we have is background checked. We have that knowledge of what to look for and what not to look for, and we report back to the kids, and we've got policies and procedures into place. So, it's someone very, very safe coming out.
Yeah.
And even with, when you're looking for an AC person or a real estate person or somebody else, it's nice to know, hey, I have used this person. They're very good. They know what they're doing. Having that personal recommendation. And I think that's Carlett and I both try to do that. We're not going to give you someone we haven't worked with before. So, when Carlett's giving that estate planner or the person that does the estate sales, she's already worked with them. She knows the processes, the procedures. She knows that they're on the up and up, and then that person is not going to be scammed out of money.
Correct. And we all see so much exploitation. All of us are sadly witnessed. We witness that on a regular basis. I always hope and pray that if I could get in on the very beginning, I can be helpful. Unlike the phone call I just received before the radio show from another case manager in town, said, this gentleman, I have a gentleman, the realtor sold his house and he has nowhere to go.
Oh, dear Lord.
So I could have been a lot more instrumental in helping him had I known that in the very beginning, because I'm never going to leave a senior homeless.
Bless you. God bless you.
And that's all I can say is, it happens. And I don't think it's ever intentional. I think it's just they don't know how to navigate all the things they need to set them up for success.
They're not able to zoom out far enough and understand, like, you pull this lever, these other things have to be thought through after the fact. And I was thinking about that. So to the point, by the way, I want to, if you're listening, grab a pencil. I'm going to give you the date of Scam Jam, because it is an important part of this whole conversation. We are going to meet on Friday, May the 16th. We are going to meet at a place called the Brevard at Melbourne. And this is very limited. There's only 50 slots that are available. So what we hope is we fill all 50 slots, and then we're going to, actually our goal is to move this concept around the county. So maybe the next one's up in Titusville, then we bring one down to Palm Bay. But this one is going to be at the Brevard at Melbourne in Viera, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Friday, May 16th. And what our goal is, we're actually calling it jokingly, we want to make you a scam jammer. And what that means is at the end of the program, if you're there for the full program, you're going to get a certificate that names you a scam jammer. And it's kind of all in good humor, but it's a very serious topic, because what we want you to do is become deputized at keeping yourself safe from scams, but also that you will pledge to help those around you also be on the lookout, because that's the best way we can do it, is look out for each other. Like you guys in the business, hey, like this is what we're hearing. Don't fall for this one. And so we've got Corporal Beal from the Brevard County Sheriff's Department. She's going to come out and speak on what they see from the sheriff's side of things. We have our state public attorney. His name is Will Shiner, and he's going to share about the things that they see, kind of like, because he's the guy that takes those cases to court. He publishes a great thing called the Monthly Brief, which his office tries to always keep us informed about the latest things they're seeing. We're also going to have elder law attorney Greg Schwendeman, who's with the Rhodes Law Office. He's going to come out and talk about the things that he sees, including telling a personal story that happened to him with his father, who got an AI call from his son saying that I've been in a car wreck in Orlando and I need all this help, and if you'll just go put $20 bills into a cryptocurrency machine, we'll be able to solve it. Now, to you or I, we would be actually just going like, well, that's ridiculous. But it was enough that Greg's dad was like, oh my goodness, I got to help my son. And it was within a hairbreadth of disaster for that. So he's going to share that and how to avoid that. And then we have Karen Civitate with AARP itself, who is a big scam jammer, because they are always keeping up with the national trends, and she's going to share a lot of good information. And then we have other great folks who are participating. Vicki Moore, who is with Moore Insurance, she's going to come in and talk a little bit about how to keep your Medicare benefits safe and things like that. Lots of great people who are going to share in this conversation. So because it is limited to 50 people, it's absolutely free. Lunch is included. ARP is providing lunch, and the Brevard is a great location for us. It's free, but you got to RSVP. So what I would say is call our Karen Wernland or one of the great volunteers in helping seniors at 321-473-7770. 321-473-7770, and they're going to get you signed up. and make sure that you're in the scam jam. But back to our topic for today, which is really things that seniors need to know. I think the first thing you need to know is who to call, right? Because in the old days, we talked about what somebody's Rolodex was, like whose numbers do you have? Now we call it a contact list, but it's the same concept, right, Jennifer?
Absolutely. But I was flabbergasted. I got a white pages in the mail.
Oh, wow.
About 2 weeks ago.
Didn't know those existed.
I didn't know that they still did that. I got a YP. I walked it over. I live right next door to my mom and dad. I walked it over, and they didn't get one for some reason, but I did, so I handed it over to them. But it was very thin. Yeah. It was just our area, but I had no idea that they even did that anymore.
Wow.
Because usually, those are very rare. And how do I call? And some people aren't Googlers, so how do I get the information I need if I'm a senior and I am not super tech savvy?
See, you said two things I think are very important there. Number one is when you're looking, you can get a list. Is that going to help you? Because I don't know about you. You can do a Google search and wind up way more confused than you started with, because I don't know if you, particularly I like to pick on legal for this, because if you ever ask a legal question, it'll pop up a million answers. So then you have to start sorting through, because is this pertinent to my state? Because you'll see something from the state of Oregon or something, it has nothing to do with Florida law. And then you'll find something that was like maybe from, 2014, and it doesn't know that the law was changed in 2021 after COVID or something. And so you're not even getting good information, and you can walk away. You got to call somebody who's invested in this, like Jennifer, like Carlett. You guys know that's your business. You understand what's going on. Carlett, I wanted to ask you, like, when you talk about all these resources you have in your brochure, you list so many different things. Can you just kind of like run over those? Because I want you to think about it. When you're talking about a real estate transaction, you're just thinking like, I got to sell my house. How much do I get? Or maybe I've got to buy a new place. What's it going to cost me? And there's many dimensions you got to go past that.
Right, Kerry. And I'm always looking at, sometimes they're just downsizing into a smaller home or a condo.
Right.
Because like Jennifer was saying, it's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and it's so much work. And they just can't do that. So I provide the clinical oversight, obviously, while they're going through the transition. And I can certainly, distantly, I care manage. If they need somebody full-time, then I'm going to recommend somebody to come in.
That's your nurse hat coming in.
Yeah, that's a nurse hat. And then I'm going to work on finding them their ideal home, whether it's a condo or downsizing into assisted living. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to talk about downsizing and organizing, because so many things, there's a lot that goes into that. We may have family heirlooms that we need to ship. That whole component itself is very unique and individualized to our client. Then we're going to talk about, we got to pack them. We've got to look at if they're going into a space that's 700 square feet. How much room do they have? How much stuff can they take? So we have to measure everything. I work with people that go in and do that. They pack them, move them, unpack them, and set up their apartments. Because we want them to walk into their new living space feeling like they're home. And then we have to talk about sometimes financial options, because they may not have the funds to transfer. They may only have the equity in their home. So we have to have that discussion.
Wow, there's a lot of different pieces in all this.
And then I look at their power of attorney and those types of things. And do they need to be updated? Maybe it's time to have another conversation with their attorney and get things up to date.
That is like this will say these are the things that you think you're starting on the surface with a real estate transaction, but these are really all the things you get into. Jennifer, you see so much of this all the time, because again, I remember something you and I have talked about, like you'll come in and as part of the first meeting, you're going to go through and you want to understand what paperwork the folks have that are living in the house, and then you'll turn around and say to the kids who are, the adult kids, like, okay, what about your paperwork? Just because it's important for everybody to be up to speed. You know these things to look for and to ask for and to help a family figure out what's needed.
Well, exactly. And I think Carlett's the same way. We've been around long enough and we've seen so many different families and different stories that we know what could happen.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to have to really know who's who as far as power of attorney. But I know that it's important to have. And if something comes down the road where that person can't make decisions for themselves, who is that power of attorney? Who can pay the bills while mom's in the hospital? Who can sign a real estate agreement? God forbid that, something happens where, that is suddenly necessary. So having all of those things done so that you don't have to worry about it in a crisis moment is such a good thing. And that's what that Joe always, was talking about is, planning, get your ducks in a row now. Let's look at what is needed now, even though you might not need it for 10 years. Let's put all of those things in place, have the correct paperwork, know what the help in the house is going to look like. And if I can't maintain this house anymore, if something happens, then where do I want to be as far as assisted living or do I want to move into a condo in a smaller place, or these stairs are not going to be
helpful.
the stairs are unfortunately truly a killer sometimes, and we see that we're like, oh, they really need to move to a one floor place. So, all of those things need to be considered.
So agree. Excuse me. The other thing that's so important that you just touched on is probate. And I think a lot of people don't realize the cost of probate.
Oh yes.
Versus, maybe looking at a trust to protect the house so it doesn't have to go in probate. And again, I'm not an attorney. I don't advise any of my clients, but I think these are things that they should have a conversation about so they can make the best decision for them. And
Absolutely.
They're aware and prepared. And the family's aware. Because probate can be expensive.
Yeah, it's a 6-letter word here. Wisdom is what you guys are talking about. The experience and the background and the perspective that you each bring to this. I did a show with board-certified elder law attorney Bill Johnson, who's been a friend of Helping Seniors, also going back before helping Joe when he was trying to get Brevard Alzheimer's going. And Bill and I did a show where we were talking about probate, and we were talking about what the attorney's fees can be on a 3% of an estate. So I said, if somebody had $1 million estate, you mean that could be $30,000 right there? And he goes, yes, it could be. And that's what the law permits. And so if you don't know, it's like so Nancy Deerdorf, who's our director of development, she has this thing. She says, how do you know what you don't know? And the problem with a lot of the senior stuff is it gets real expensive real quick. And when you don't have the wise counsel to help guide you through this, you can really spend a lot of money that you didn't need to spend. So I want to kind of make sure that we give people phone numbers and contact information for each one of you, because we were talking about the wisdom of having good contacts in your Rolodex or whatever you call it, contact book, whatever you want to call it today. It is so important to get somebody that is does all the things the right way. They make sure they have all the correct licensing, the insurances, all the things are going by the book, not skating across the pond hoping the ice will hold up. Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors, this is what you guys do. Not only do you make sure that you bring good people in to help, you hire good people to help, and then you yourself have some electronic helps and ways that you can really work with a family to maximize where their senior care dollars can go. How do people get in touch with you? What do you suggest that they do?
So we can be reached at 321-722-2999. Again, that's 321-722-2999. Of course, we're on the web and we're on Facebook. Yep. If you look Seniors Helping Seniors /Brevard, we're there on the web. We are going to be having on May 8th, Thursday afternoon, 4 to 6.
Yay.
We're going to be doing a little open house for a new location over on Sarno.
Yep.
So I'd love to have everybody come over and help us celebrate that. And also, we're going to have a food truck on site that is going to be donating 10% back to Alzheimer's Walk.
Good.
Space Coast Walk to End Alzheimer's in September, and I'm all about that research.
Yes.
So we're going to do that as a little fundraiser as well.
Good. That's exciting. Thank you, Jennifer. So again, please remember Jennifer Barton, Seniors Helping Seniors, and Carlett Delliquadri. The company is Flamazing Real Estate. I love it. You have a big, beautiful pink flamingo.
I am all about the flamingos.
You do all this with a true Florida flair. How do people get in touch with you?
So they can reach me at 321-223-5665. That's 321-223-5665. I'm working on my website, so don't try to find me there. But you can find me on Facebook,
yes,
under Flamazing Real Estate. And or you can call the Helping Seniors of Brevard, and they'll be happy to help navigate you to me.
And I'm happy to give you that number for a couple of reasons. 321-473-7770. I'm going to say that number again in a moment, but I want you to just kind of quickly recap. Tomorrow, if you're in the neighborhood, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, it's our fourth Thursday Senior Education Series. You are so welcome to come out and join us. We were talking earlier in the Knowledge College portion. Dr. Rosemary Laird with ClinCloud is going to be our speaker. I'm excited to hear from that. And then we're going to have a technology talk about how that can help in your wellness at 11. So you don't want to miss those. You can always call us at 321-473-7770 and RSVP, just so we know how many snackies to have out, because there's snacks, there's door prizes, there's fun. It's just a great morning out. So hopefully we'll see you there tomorrow. And then the other thing that I want you to have that number for is in case you missed Jennifer's number or in case you missed getting down Carlett's number, you can always call and say, I heard those guys talking about this on the radio. How do I follow up with Jennifer Barton at Seniors Helping Seniors? Or how do I follow up with Carlett Delliquadri at Flamazing Real Estate? And finally, that's the number you can get your Helping Seniors car raffle tickets at. You call us, and we are in full swing with that. We were just out at the Duncan Car Show. But get a ticket, support Helping Seniors. 1 is $25, 5 is a $100 donation, 321-473-7770. Or you can go to helpingseniors.carraffle.com and get your tickets there. That's the time we have for the show on today. So we so look forward to seeing you right back here on 90.3 FM WEJF Radio next Wednesday and every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. So until then, hope you guys have a great day. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Carlett, for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.